Hi, what's up? Welcome back to another BlackSwanRadio.com production. I'm your host, Rondell L. Jordan, aka DJ BlackSwanRadio.com. Check out my content. I have a series of books that you can explore under the title IlluminatedNubians.com. And I'm sure that if you go preview it, you will be blown away by what I reveal to you in my books. All right, and so this is all about our life of exploration. You know, we're here for a unique period of time. You know, I was looking at a brother today on the internet. I came back, someone had shared that he had passed away. I didn't know this gentleman, but you know, I was calculating his age, and I'm like, this man, he was like, 57 years old. And, they said that, he lived a full life and, this and that about him. And I'm like, well, I disagree, because I think he lived half a life. I mean, if he just got above 50, did he get out of life? Because afterlife, all you have is what people say about you. And a day or two, a week or two after you depart, people may say good things and they may say some bad things, but all in all, it's just things said. All right. If you leave behind money, usually, someone may be happy, some ain't, but money comes and goes. Money is blown, and it typically creates different infighting, right? Of, children, stepchildren, ex-wives, all these different people feeling entitled to the remains, the physical, tangible remains. And so, I think that, the ancestors that we see when we go to Egypt, they leave an example for us, and really is leaving behind a body of work that can be appreciated for many generations after your body has returned to the earth. And to really, think about how these kings or these mighty thinkers, these high priests who adorn themselves with knowledge and pass that knowledge down from generations, you got Khufu, Khafre, Senefru. You have these guys who not only built the pyramid for himself in alignment with the star constellation Sahu, which is the bright and morning star in which Christ talks about, right? The root is the Nile River, and the offspring of David is the nation that was formed in the land of Canaan, all right? And so our history has been taken out of context because of its African origins and the bias of the conquering nations of the Western Hemisphere during the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th century. So we know that this is just a reality of our history. And when we get to know our personal history intimately, we find that we are more native here than from African slaves. Although that may be a reality that we find in our lineage as well. All right. And so the one thing I've learned is that the consequences of not knowing, all right, the information that I share with you in the Bible is the difference of living a life of fruitless labor, all right, or what you can call and a life of eternal exploration, creativity, abundance, because you're able to distinguish what God has made and what the Lord have made. And God has given us life. God created life, but the Lord's formed. And the difference between the Lord God and the Lord operating on his own is not been distinguished in the Bible. So when we take in our knowledge, we are looking at the stories from what you can call a Stockholm, right? We are rooting or praising or honoring the deities of our conquering nations, which is natural. When you come in, if I was to come in and conquer your nation, we're no longer going to be doing things as you guys were, right? Now we're going to go along with my program, which means a wiping away and a reprogramming, a reformatting of your mentality. This is the way things are going to go now. You know, I was looking at the men who are ruling the country right now, the Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden, and we look at their state, their mind state, and I am blown away that I'm witnessing this. I'm seeing this. This is as clear as day that they are not in control or not even in their state, a healthy state of mind, even by far. And yet the people behind them continue to propagate or put these people in front, to put them as front and props, even in their incognitive state. It's not a concern about whether this person is cognitive or not, whether this person is able to function. He is literally a puppet, out of his mind. In the mainstream people are just going along with this. And so what this means is that our government is a puppet government. You know? And the lords are doing a thing behind the scenes. And it's up to us to recognize game and to make ourselves coverings. Most people don't understand the difference between the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, where Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. They can't tell the difference between that and the God who created heavens and earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Why do you think they used face twice in Genesis 1? They started out, darkness was on the face of the deep. It was dark people, the Ethiopians, the Cushites, the Nubians. Darkness was on the face of the deep. And they were moved by the Spirit of God that was hovering over the face of the waters. But the Lord came down and seen the city and the towers which the sons of men had built. And he said, indeed, the people are one, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do can be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language or confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. You see, this is the Lord. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the earth, caused a diaspora, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language. See, he's telling us the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. The word scattered abroad, the phrase scattered abroad, is used 3 times because that's what this story is about, a diaspora, a confusion of the language of the people to keep them from being able to develop their own kingdoms, their own nations, their own monuments. Anything that they propose to do would be withheld from them. But because we're living in the Stockholm mentality, we think we got brothers out here saying that the original Hebrews were black. See, that's how you know we lost. Because, you see, there was no black and white. until the Western world. It was red and black, black and red. And you see, Mesopotamia was the red lands. The Assyrians, these were the red lands. These were the borders of the red lands. The Assyrians, the Shemites. So they personified in the Bible as Abram, came from Mesopotamia, which is the origins of the domesticated sheep. The process of domestication. And they brought their livestock and their methodology of land ownership, dealings, into the land of Canaan, down into the land of Egypt, or called Egypt, renamed Egypt by the Greeks and the Romans, Roman antics. So the name of Kemet, originally used in Genesis 10 as Mizraim, Genesis 11 is changed to Babel, the towers, because if you stand outside the towers, you hear a wide range of different languages. You hear Arabic, French, English, Russian, Greek. I said Greek. Yeah, you may hear some Greek. You may hear some Italian. You hear Spanish. All the tourists from different parts of the world drawn to these stone monuments in the land of Kemet. The tour guide asked me, which do I prefer? Should I refer to this tower as Khufu or Cheops? And I said, well, his name was Khufu, correct? He said, well, we'll call him Khufu. You see, there's two versions of the story, at least. There's the truth and there's a myth. And they're prepared to tell you whichever version of the story you want. And I want the story to reflect the truth about history. But because this truth is offensive to people with a certain mentality, due to a mentality of a superiority complex, a denial of the truth. You know, my objective is to give voice to our ancestors so that we all live onwardly, so to prosper. The truth has been hidden, but it's there in front of our eyes, and it's just up to us to show it and see it for ourselves. Lord simply means master. It's a word choice, just like they chose to use the word confused instead of the word confound that was originally used, right? These are choice words. They chose to use the word garden instead of plantation. They chose to spell Adam, A-D-A-M, instead of A-T-U-M. They chose words to demonize the African characters. The word subtil was changed to the word cunning. The word beguiled changed to the word deceived. But when you read the story, we see that it was the Lord who confesses in Genesis 22 that he was keeping Adam from